Prominent Kurdish politician Hatip Dicle discusses the ongoing international campaign for Abdullah Öcalan's freedom, drawing parallels to Nelson Mandela's struggle. Turkish President Erdoğan's claims of an Israeli threat face widespread criticism as political distractions from domestic issues. Protests grow across Europe demanding freedom for Kurdistan Workers' Party (PKK) leader Abdullah Öcalan. Diyarbakir rallied to protest Erdoğan's war policies and demand an end to Abdullah Öcalan's isolation. Learn more with Media News. A global campaign advocating for the release of Kurdish leader Abdullah Öcalan and a political solution to the Kurdish issue was launched on October 10, 2023. Hatip Dicle, a key figure in Kurdish politics, reflected on the campaign's significance and the enduring impact of what he called the international conspiracy behind Öcalan's abduction in 1999. Dicle condemned the role of global powers, including the US and European states, in Öcalan's forced expulsion and abduction, accusing them of blocking a peaceful resolution to the Kurdish question.
Öcalan is a distinguished thinker and philosopher of our time. To take such a person and imprison them in an isolated cell on an island is first and foremost a crime against humanity. What did this conspiracy mean for the Kurdish people? It inflicted great harm. Öcalan had left for Europe in search of peace, but the path to a peaceful solution was blocked by over 20 countries, including the US and several European states, all of which played a role in this conspiracy.
Dicle drew comparisons between Öcalan's isolation and the imprisonment of Nelson Mandela, stressing that Öcalan's freedom is essential for a political solution to the Kurdish issue and for Turkey's democratic future. When asked about the course of the global campaign, Dicle replied as follows.
We can liken this to the movement for the freedom of Nelson Mandela in the 1970s and 1980s. Like Mandela, who spent 27 years in an island prison, Öcalan has been imprisoned on an island since 1999. This campaign was launched to address these injustices. As part of the campaign, intellectuals, writers, civil society leaders, and activists from 75 countries and more than 120 cities organized press conferences and seminars calling for Öcalan's freedom and a solution to the Kurdish issue. Letters were also sent to the Council of Europe and the Committee for the Prevention of Torture calling for action. Recently, 69 Nobel laureates led by Jody Williams called for Öcalan's release, and various international organizations, including the Council of Europe and the European Court of Human Rights, responded.
Dicle stressed that while the 10th of October 2023 campaign for Öcalan's freedom has raised significant awareness, particularly among leftist, socialist, democratic and green movements, much work remains. He further highlighted that Öcalan's total isolation violates his basic human rights and called for the restoration of his communication rights, as mandated by the European Convention on Human Rights. Turkish Recep Tayyip President Erdoğan's claim that Israel may target Turkey has drawn widespread criticism from various commentators, including military officials and Kurdish leaders, who accuse him of using it as a political strategy to divert attention from domestic issues. Retired Admiral Turker Ertürk dismissed Erdoğan's remarks as nonsense, stating that Israel views him as a friend disguised as a foe. Kurdish leader Beyse Hozat described the alleged Israeli threat as a tactic to manipulate Turkey's internal politics, emphasizing that the real concern is the Kurdish population. Meanwhile, independent journalist Metin Cihan highlighted Turkey's ongoing steel supplies to Israel's military, calling Erdoğan's narrative a political maneuver. Journalist Aylin Ozinian expressed skepticism about the government's claims, suggesting they seek to distract from internal struggles. The Tutsi president made these assertions during a parliamentary speech on the 1st of October, warning of potential Israeli aggression against Turkey amid ongoing conflicts in Gaza and Lebanon. Opposition figures, including main opposition Republican People's Party leader Özgür Özel, accused Erdoğan of fear-mongering to overshadow pressing issues like poverty and the economic crisis. Global protests calling for the freedom of imprisoned Kurdish leader Abdullah Öcalan have intensified, with demonstrations and events held across Europe. In Portugal, the Solidarity Platform organised seminars in Lisbon and Coimbra, discussing Öcalan's democratic confederalism and advocating for a peaceful solution to the Kurdish issue. Meanwhile, in Stockholm, a boat trip along the city's waterways was greeted by thousands, raising awareness of Öcalan's continued isolation. Manica Yiğit, co-president of NCDK Scandinavia, said, In Germany and Russia, protesters condemned the 1998 plot that led to his imprisonment. Participants urged international institutions, including the Council of Europe and the United Nations, to act. In Switzerland, demonstrations were held in Fribourg, led by the Revolutionary Youth Movement, TCX, and the Fighting Young Women, Tekocin. Orhan Hazar, co-chair of the Kurdish Democratic Community Center of Fribourg, said, Organisers emphasised Öcalan's role in the Kurdish struggle and his commitment to women's rights and radical democracy. They called for an end to the 25-and-a-half-year isolation imposed on him by Turkish authorities. Protests are expected to continue, culminating in large marches in Cologne and Basel later this month. The People's Equality and Democracy Party, or DEM Party, is set to lead a mass rally in Diyarbakir, Ahmed, on 13 October, opposing the Turkish government's war policy and the incommunicado detention of Abdullah Öcalan. The rally, under the slogan "We resist the plot, we meet in Ahmed for freedom," aims to send a powerful message to the government, urging them to shift from war to peace. The protest, expected to attract tens of thousands, will take place at Istasyon Square. DEM Party co-chair Tuli Hatimoglu criticised the government's hostility towards the Kurds and called for unity and peace and freedom of Öcalan.
Özellikle İmralı'da Sayın Abdullah Öcalan üzerinde devam eden tecridin kırılması gerektiğini canı yürekten savunuyoruz. Bunun için de değerli arkadaşlar 13 Ekim'de Abdullah Öcalan'a özgürlük, Kürt sorununa çözüm diyerek Ahmet'te 10 binlerle olacağız hep beraber. Ve biz Ahmet'ten barışın sesini Ankara'ya, İstanbul'a, Ahmet'ten barışın sesini Beyrut'a, Filistin'e, Ahmet'ten barışın sesini Ukrayna'ya, Tayvan'a kadar ulaştırmak istiyoruz.